Round 3 of the British Cycling Elite Road Series brings us to the edge of Salisbury Plain. The last outing, the Tour of the Reservoir, made rolling stone monoliths over hundreds of miles seem an appealing alternative.
These conditions are fatiguing.
The snow is falling. We are in April and it is absolutely freezing.
I've never been so cold in my life.
Yes, those Druids thought they had it bad. Well, welcome to Wiltshire. It seems as though the wind has followed us here, but hopefully we'll at least have a leader's jersey not covered up by a rain mac. The red race mark jersey is the property of Steve Lampier of Rally GAC. A strong showing at the Wiltshire Grand Prix was followed by another podium beside the reservoir. So how are you feeling about today's course? Will it suit you?
It's a race that brings a lot of riders into contention because the parkour is not horrific, but it's still, after 175k, it's still quite a hard race. But that being said, we've got a team who, we can do well. Morgan Kaniski for the sprint. Last year, I led Marcin Biablocki out for the win and still finished 9th myself. So, it's possible to get a high place and with working for your team. So it's pretty good for us.
And of course, ever since we've been starting this Spring Cup, you've been chasing that first place, getting second every time.
Don't talk to me about that. I know it's maybe a monkey on my back, but yeah, hopefully, like myself or a teammate win today, that'd be a big feather in their cap. So all good.
The British Cycling Elite Road Series features the very best teams and riders from the UK scene. 11 teams race for individual and team honours over 8 events. There's 2 blocks of racing, the Spring Cup, which ends here, and the Grand Prix series later in the summer. Riders are awarded points at each race. The higher the finishing position, the more points, and quite simply, the overall winner after the 8 races will be the Elite Series champion. One of the teams with high hopes of that is NFTO. Well, Dave, it's all going off. Tell us a bit about the big announcement last week.
Yeah, obviously coming into Tour de Yorkshire, we're very proud to announce a partnership with Aberdeen Asset Management. It's a 3-year deal with making the step to Pro Continental for 2016. So,
fantastic. So this means big plans then for next season.
Oh yeah, the headaches have started already. Yeah, don't worry about that. Yeah.
And of course, talking of headaches, poor old Eddie Dunbar. He was going for it. He was going strong. He was one of your lead riders, and then the Tour de Yorkshire, broken collarbone.
Yeah, really sad actually, because the guy was feeling really, really great. He is a little legend. Yeah, he was going really well. When the brake was getting caught, he decided to clip off and try and extend that, prolong it himself. And the pace on that particular descent was obviously a little high. I think actually it was the only sort of wet bit of road for pretty much all the morning. Luckily we got him operated on Wednesday. He's nipped back to Ireland to catch up with some family and friends, and he'll be on the bike probably from this weekend, I'd have thought.
Dunbar lies second overall for now. Third is Eric Rousell. His big sister Jo won a stage at the Reservoir before he went one better, winning the men's race overall. The Madison Genesis rider is starting to make a name for himself.
Tour of Reservoir was a fantastic race for us. The Madison Genesis boys rode extremely well for me. Obviously I got in the break the first day, took the win there, and then we managed to defend it really well on the second stage.
And of course the next thing was the Tour de Yorkshire, and you were the highest placed British rider. I mean, that's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, that was another great race for us. I managed to finish in the top 10 overall, which was first British rider as well, so we've got to be happy with that. And we had someone in the breakaway every day, so we went there and done our job, which was to get involved in the race and show ourselves, so we're really pleased with that. Yeah, all the time, yeah. We don't often go out training together because we just try and kick each other's heads in, so she often, the first couple of hours, she often has it over me, but then I come through at the end, so. But yeah, it's nice to ride with her when we get the opportunity to. First bike was just a hand-me-down BMX from the family that lived behind us, I think, and I remember my dad taking me in the park and trying to teach me how to ride for the first time without stabilisers, and said, if you manage to do it, I'll buy you a present, and I wanted to skateboard straight away, so had a bike and then got straight on the skateboard instead. I've had a few nasty crashes. I've broken my spine twice and collarbone once. Collarbone's probably the worst. That needed a few operations to sort it out, but apart from those 3 crashes, nothing too bad, just the usual scrapes and bruises, so I think I've been quite lucky. A couple of years ago, 2012, I won a stage of the Tour Normandy, and that probably stands out as one of the biggest wins. I had a few years where I was just there helping other people, a bit of a domestique role, so to win a race for myself was fantastic, and that set me off then, set the ball rolling. the worst habits, it's got to be Mark McNally, I think. Just his accent makes me laugh every time, but yeah, he's a bit of a funny character, but he's a good lad.
The Cycle Wiltshire Grand Prix is 173 kilometres long. The riders roll out from Salisbury before the flag drops at Wilton. They complete 5 circuits, taking in Burkham, Fovant, Broad Chalk and Bishopstone. Key climbs are at Fovant Down and Wind Whistle. That's followed by 4 smaller loops between Wilton and Burkham.
3, 2, 1.
Let's join our commentators now, Anthony McCrossan and Matt Stevens.
The peloton rolling out from the front of Salisbury Guildhall, and a great crowd greeting the British riders. Getting set now as they race past Salisbury Cathedral, a tremendous landmark in this area.
Yeah, nice gentle rollout. Last year we started the race in Wilton. A bit of a change of scenery. A couple of miles neutral before the action really begins. We've got 2 big laps to be covered on 5 occasions, and then some smaller laps at the finish. Quite a flat, fast finishing circuits, but the big climb of Fovant Down is the main obstacle of the day.
So the race starts 11:10 in the morning as we get underway, and the first little flourishes of attacks coming from One Pro Cycling.
Yeah, that looks like the Welshman John Mould had a fantastic season last year for NFTO, but has come across to the fledgling One Pro Cycling squad, and there's the leader of the Spring Cup Series, Steve Lampier.
Steve Lampier, well, he's in the red Race Smart jersey. He could win the Spring Cup today. There's no Eddie Dunbar, of course, broke his collarbone in the Tour of Yorkshire, but Rousel or McNally would have to finish in the top 4 here, and Lampier not score at all for him to lose that lead.
You know, Steve Lampier had a tremendous ride in the Tour de Yorkshire. That was an absolutely wonderful event, but it was good to see the British riders to the fore, making all the attacks, and obviously some good form coming off the back of that race.
Well, it was 3 days of very, very tough racing. So Veloshore at the front in the red and black on the left-hand side. Now Lampier just pushing on through a little, and a small breakaway forming at the front. Looks like Rousel is tracking Lampier very, very closely today.
Yeah, right there, Anthony, because Rousel is the only rider that could usurp Steve Lampier from the lead in the Spring Cup today.
Onto the climb of Fovant Down. Matt, you know this is really, really tough. The camera doesn't show how the gradient of this climb. It's strength sapping, and it roars up, and the crowd at the top always greeting the riders with real passion. Yeah,
it's a really, really hard climb. It pitches up just near the top at gradients topping out at around 15%, making it a really long haul. And remember, the riders have to cover this on 5 occasions, and there's King of the Mountains points available at the top of here as well.
On the front of this peloton then, right-hand side is Will Bjergfeldt in the blue and lime green. Rousel climbing well. He finished 8th in the Tour of Yorkshire, which is a tremendous rider, top British rider. And on the left-hand side, Dan Fleeman.
Yeah, Dan Fleeman, a very, very good climber indeed. It's bobbing around on the left-hand side. Here's a view from the back of the group. That's Richard Handley. He's one of the riders who had a fine performance. Top 10 on the general classification in the Tour of Yorkshire as well. So he's clearly on very, very good form.
Well, these riders will be riding road races now, and of course they then go into the Tour Series, so they've got to transform the way they ride into being able to ride crit races over the next few weeks, as Ian Bibby, the winner of the Wiltshire Grand Prix, makes his way to that front group.
And the rider on the front there is Dan Fleeman from the Sport Grub team in that green and blue kit. A remarkably strong hill climber, a former national hill climb champion, and spent a year with Cervelo test team on the continent, so very, very experienced indeed.
He also won, Matt, the Tour of the Pyrenees, which got him his ride in the Cervelo test team. So he really is a rider who loves the climbs. He's lean and he's powerful. Sitting not too far back, though, Steve Lampier. You have to admire his consistency in this series. 2 second places in the 2 events we've had so far.
He'll certainly be looking for a win, but I think in this race in particular, looking to conserve the leader's red jersey. And look at him climbing very well, still sat in the saddle while Fleeman bobs around in a more distinctive freestyle.
Well, you've said before, Steve Lampier is a rider who's got better and better every single year. And last year on the tumble in a Tour of Britain, he was a very, very good finisher on the climb. So Fleeman pressing on a little bit. The flag's fluttering quite a lot, so shows it's pretty windy out here on this course, and we haven't really seen that so far.
Well, there's a few spots of rain just on the lens there, showing there's a bit of drizzle coming, but as you say, Anthony, over the top of that climb, it is quite exposed and windy.
Well, it looks like a group of maybe 20 riders have detached themselves off the front of the peloton now. Just that acceleration over the top of the climb. Then, as we know, a very, very fast descent. And Lampier is consistently riding at the front, just keeping out of trouble. He really wants to win this series, this Spring Cup today.
As Lampier's progress over the last few years has been impressive. It's been steady progress, but by far the best season he's had. He's got with him for company the rider just on the front, Sam Lowe, and he also has Morgan Kiniewski, the Frenchman, for company.
I've just noticed Andy Tennant making his way into that group in the colours of Team Wiggins. That's been a hard ride for him to get across to the front of this race now. But now Wiggins are represented in this front group with a couple of riders, actually, Tennant and one other right at the back.
You see Ian Bibby just at the back of that group. That is a significant group, a group of sheer class. All of the UCI Continental teams are represented. So I'd imagine now this group is going to work its way well away from the bunch.
So Team Wiggins, also the other rider in there is Owen Doull. This is the chasing peloton, and it looks to me like the pace is very much out of this group. 5 minutes and 30 seconds is the deficit. That is going to be pretty hard to make up.
Yeah, we've got just over 20 riders in that lead group, and just looking at the way that bunch is formed here, nobody's taking it up at the front, so it does look pretty good. That's going to be very difficult to bring back.
The leading group racing past the Fovant badges, the regimental badges depicted on the hill on the left-hand side, but the tempo very much up as all the teams push on to try and win this race.
So that lead group holds a healthy advantage, but can they stay away? Join us after the break to find out.
Already 10 years riding the Tour of California. On the road from Sacramento to downtown LA, 8 stunning stages make up America's biggest bike race. Tonight at 6, the last stage of the Tour of California, live on British Eurosport.
Archery. Power and precision. Passion and perseverance. Dedication and devotion. Intensity and integrity. Archery. The ultimate sporting challenge.
Here, history is all around you. Just one step, and you're back in the past century, or several hundred years ago. You can travel back in time and find something new and amazing. Discover an ancient culture. Bulgaria, a discovery to share.
I used to use one of these to stain my decking, until I discovered this. Bonsil, perfect finish decking stain. It does exactly what it says in the tin.
Hello, I am Major General Sir Evelyn Webb Carter, and I am the chairman of Waterloo 200. 2015 marks the bicentenary of the Battle of Waterloo, a defining moment in European history. I am delighted to show you the official commemorative campaign medal for Waterloo, struck in solid bronze, as originally intended in 1815. You can order your free medal now at freemedal.co.uk. The medal is a complimentary gift to the nation for the upcoming anniversary. Due to the strict limitation, only one campaign medal per household is allowed, Order now at freemedal.co.uk or call free on 0808 178 7178.
House prices. Other people's wages.
Coffee.
These days, I feel like everything's getting bigger, except my savings.
But you can do something different with Wellesley.
Wellesley are not a bank.
Start today and get 4%.
Invest for longer and get even more.
So visit Wellesley now and find out how to treat your money just like their own.
Find out more at wellesley.co.uk.
Welcome back. Now let's not waste any time. Let's crack on straight with the action from the Cycle Wiltshire Grand Prix.
This Cycle Wiltshire Grand Prix has been dominated by this big breakaway group of riders who are clear of the peloton. And as we look here now, Matt, 4 riders just edging themselves off the front of the lead group.
And the rider on the front with that very distinctive tucked style, extremely stylish bike rider is Mike Norley of Madison Genesis, and he's closely followed by last year's series winner Janto Barker of One Pro Cycling.
Janto Barker just sniffs out the breakaways, doesn't he? He's already in the right move here as he looks around to see who's with them. Now, 2 other riders have made their way into this quartet. One is Andy Tennant in the colours of Team Wiggins, and the other rider from NFTO, a rider that we haven't seen in one of these Elite Road Series so far.
Yeah, they're just managing to edge clear. They're opening up that gap. That's quite a steep descent before this left-hander, very tight left-hander. And that rider in front is 22-year-old Edmund Bradbury. He's a specialist time trialist. He's also a full-time university graduate at Cambridge studying neuroscience.
Well, if there's any mind games to be played, then there is no doubt whatsoever which rider will have all the skills in this front group. The chase is on, and it's Raleigh who've missed the split.
The other team that aren't represented in that quartet out front, JLT Condor. But at the moment, Janto Barker powering ahead, one of the most experienced riders in this group, 35 years of age, and there's Tennant on the back for Wiggins.
Janto Barker, he's always good at this time of year, isn't he? He finished last year 3rd in the Tour of the Reservoir, and then he really started to come good when he won the Lincoln Grand Prix, and that set him up for the season. Similar time of year, and he's now going forward yet again. Rain starting to fall, as we can see on the lens, so the weather conditions changing.
They are, but look at this. The mind games are beginning already. Tennant pointing the accusatory finger at Bradbury, who sat at the back. But remember, Bradbury coming to this season as a 4th cat rider, a time trial specialist only, so a bit of an unknown quantity.
That's incredible. 3 minutes 50 seconds is now the advantage as Dan Fleeman goes through to the front in the colours of the Sport Grub team. Now, Matt, this rider in here for NFTO, a time trialist in here with the European track champions, winners of the Elite Road Series, Mike Northey, who's a spectacular rider, and he's inexperienced. He's got to work the tactics out as we see Janto Barker now testing the legs of everyone.
Well, Tennant forced Bradbury to the front there. I don't think Tennant's particularly happy with the way Bradbury's riding, but to be fair to Bradbury, he's only a 4th category rider. This is completely unknown territory and hadn't even ridden a road race before this season started.
Absolutely incredible. Well, you have to admire the way this young rider is mixing in his company. Janto Barker, though, stretching clear now. The gap is starting to open. Bradbury is being made to chase, and it's very, very difficult. This is a chase group. It looks like their day is over as far as the win is concerned. Tom Moses, Owen Doull having a little bit of a chat. The pace is gone.
It's Morgan Kieski on the front. They're definitely looking at defending the lead of Steve Lampier rather than thinking about the race.
Janto Barker opening up his advantage. Who's chasing? Well, the answer is Andy Tennant, the European individual track pursuit champion, and now he is firmly in time trial mode as he tries to catch Janto Barker. Mike Norley also unhappy with the tactics of the rider from NFTO, so he's trying to get rid of him as well.
This is an absolutely fascinating pursuit, but Bradbury's managed to get back onto the wheel of the Flying New Zealander, and the gap's only about 50 metres.
Here goes Andy Tennant. He's almost on the wheel of Janto Barker, looking around to see what the advantage is. Both of these riders on their big, deep section rims, they've got all the aerodynamic advantages, and now this duo combining at the front as we head back into Wilton.
Well, they'll be turning left for another lap in a couple of moments. There's this sharp left-hander, but Andy Tennant didn't hang around. He bridged the gap across to Barker and went straight to the front, knowing that this could be just between these two riders.
So these two riders heading into Wilton for the penultimate time. The next time round will be the finish line. The question is, can they grow their advantage significantly to try and fight it out for the win? Here they are into Wilton.
Well, there's a little glance over at the shoulder of Tennant there just to see what was happening behind. It's now the turn of Janto Barker, the older of these two riders, to take to the front. Look at the grimace on the face of Barker, but they're not too far behind. Bradbury, it looks as if he's got a bit of a second wind here. 1 lap to go.
Yep, the bell rings now as they go out of Wilton. The crowd is building, but these two riders, Matt, as you said, they're not giving up. Bradbury trying to use his time trial prowess, and I believe he's ridden an 18-minute 10-mile time trial, is now trying to just drag Northian himself across to the front of this race.
This is agonisingly close. They have made a little bit of ground up, but can they do it? Here's the group behind, and the impetus has definitely gone out of this group. The gap way out over 3 minutes now. Rob Partridge from NFTO leads the group around that corner.
This is all that's left of the race now. The peloton have been pulled out because the finishing circuits are so short, and that means this is all that's left in the race.
Well, here's our two riders out in front. Andy Tennant, very, very stylish, right forward on the saddle, tucks his head down, swings over to let Janto Barker go through, but look at the pain etched on the face of Barker. Can he get another famous victory?
Well, two teams, of course, that are brand new in this year's domestic team setup. One Pro Cycling, and that's owned, of course, by Matt Pryor, the England cricketer, and Team Wiggins, owned by Sir Bradley Wiggins. Great to see them in the mix.
It certainly is, but both of those riders very good finishes, but the elastic has finally broken. Mike Northey looks across to the less experienced Bradbury, but fair game. Bradbury goes through, but it looks like that gap has now opened up significantly.
Cat and mouse between these two riders. Northey using his experience to good effect. Up to the front then, let's recap. Janto Barker, the winner of the Elite Road Series last year, in the front there in the grey and turquoise. Andy Tennant in the colours of Team Wiggins. Wiggins have not had a victory this season at this level, so it's down to these new squads. They want to get as much publicity as they possibly can as they go onto this little rise. Barker setting the tempo.
Andy Tennant, though, has won a couple of these races in the past. He's won the Richmond Grand Prix and the Tour of the Reservoir, so no stranger to victory. The gap now 30 seconds as Northey goes through. He looks like he's trying to drop his breakaway. Bradbury fights to get back in contact.
This is incredible, isn't it? This young rider has got so much power in those legs. He might not have the experience of these riders, but what he loses in experience, he makes up for in just sheer grit and determination to stay out of the front of a race, which is top level.
He's riding very, very well. He looks across. He's pedaling quite a low gear on the hoods, but looking very comfortable, drafting the New Zealander.
So we're heading in towards Wilton now at the end of this race. It has been dominated by this big breakaway and then the attack of Janto Barker. Tennant looking around to see where Barker is, because not far now to the finish.
Yep, so just over a kilometre to go now, but that's a good position there for Janto Barker. He knows the speed of Andy Tennant, a former Team Pursuit champion of the world, remember, and hopefully looking towards Rio. But this is a very sort of similar track finish, and here they are, the finish straight opening up.
So they turned left then. It was last year that Marcin Biablowski led out to win this race ahead of Dean Downing and Hugh Wilson. This time we're going to have a different winner. Andy Tennant using all his track craft, staying tight left-hand side, looking around at Barker to see if he can just wait for that element of surprise, waiting for the pounds.
He's waiting and waiting in the slipstream. Well, will he go? He's leaning on it now. Barker goes on the right-hand side.
Barker jumps very, very hard, but Andy Tennant is really drag racing all the way to this line. It's going to be very, very close, but Tennant takes it. A big win for Team Wiggins, and Andy Tennant on the top step of the podium, and it's the first time for a long time. Northey racing in to take third, and what a ride by the youngster from NFTO.
Bradbury's going to be very happy with that, but that's the first win of the year for Team Wiggins and Andy Tennant.
Andy, congratulations. Just talk me through that, because you were dropped on the first climb, correct?
Yeah, I didn't feel good at the start. Well, I didn't feel good all race, to be honest. I had to make a really big effort with my teammate Owen Dull to get across sort of a 20-man break. And then, to be honest, the attack really happened by me just being the fattest and being able to go down the hill the quickest. Other than John Dibben, I reckon I would have had the fastest sort of top tube speed. And yeah, we got a break, and then Janto and Mike Norby came across to us, and then that was it. We were away, and then that Ed guy from NFTO was being slightly annoying, shall we say, during the bike race. At first we understood why he was sitting on, because of we thought that Steele Van Hoff was getting back on, so we understood, but when we had 2 or 3 minutes there was no reason for him to sit on. So the last sort of lap we made a bit of a pact between the 3 of us that he wasn't going to win, so and then me and Janto was working together, and then it was man versus man in the sprint basically.
Oh, fantastic, and a great result of course for Team Wiggins.
Yeah, you know, our first win, so I got a third in the other day. This was the first time we started with 8 riders as well, so no excuses really today.
Fantastic, well congratulations, and here's to a few more donuts maybe.
Yeah, lovely, thank you.
The race-smart red leader's jersey of Steve Lampier rolled home in what was left of the race, and after several hours of man-marking, well, it didn't make for the most entertaining, exciting day's work, but it paid off in the end. Lampier retains the series leadership and wins the Spring Cup.
A weird race, like I had to mark Eric Rousel, and I'm still tired from the Tour de Yorkshire last week, so I couldn't really race aggressively in my normal manner, so I had to mark him, and then when the 4 got away, I knew Eric had to win, and I had to finish less than 14th, you know, for me to lose the lead. And when he wasn't in that 4, it was kind of pressure was off, but it just made the race really negative and quite strange back in the group we was in of 17. So odd race, but pretty happy I won the Spring Cup.
Well, there you have it. Steve Lampier keeps hold of that red Race Smart Leaders jersey and becomes the overall winner of the Spring Cup. Of course, a fantastic day as well for Team Wiggins and Andy Tennant, but it's still all to play for, so make sure you join us later on in the summer for the next chapter of the Elite Road Series. I'll see you then.